November 30th, 1939. It was a Sunday morning. The temperature was -40 degrees, and the largest military force on Earth had just decided to invade one of the smallest countries in Europe, the Soviet Union. 1 million soldiers, 6,000 tanks, 3,000 aircraft. Their target, Finland, a nation of just 3.7 million people. Stalin's generals told him it would be over in 2 weeks. Some said 10 days. One general famously boasted they would need nothing more than border guards and policemen to handle the Finns. They were wrong. Catastrophically, historically, embarrassingly wrong. Because what happened next is one of the most extraordinary stories of resistance in the history of human warfare. Finland had no tanks worth mentioning, no air force capable of matching the Soviets, no allies willing to send troops. Britain and France promised help, but none came. Sweden, their closest neighbor, refused to let foreign forces cross its territory. Finland stood completely alone. Against 1 million Soviet soldiers, Finland sent 300,000 men into the snow. Farmers, teachers, factory workers, men who had never fired a weapon in anger, handed a rifle and told to defend their homeland. What those men did in the forests of Karelia over the next 105 days will never be forgotten. The Soviets had tanks. The Finns had the forest. Finnish soldiers on skis moved through the trees at speeds the heavily equipped Soviet infantry could not match. They struck at night when the temperature dropped so low that Soviet engines froze solid. They disappeared into the snow before the enemy could respond. At the Battle of Raate, a Soviet column of 25,000 soldiers marched into a Finnish forest and never came out. Finnish soldiers encircled them, cut off their supply lines, and picked them apart in the darkness. It became known as one of the greatest military ambushes in history, taught in military academies around the world to this day. The Soviets lost 3,500 tanks, 515 aircraft. Their casualty count is still disputed, but most historians agree that between 150,000 and 200,000 Soviet soldiers died in the snow of Finland. Finland lost 25,000. One Soviet general, when asked what the war had achieved, gave an answer that has echoed through history ever since. He said, "We have won enough ground to bury our dead." But Finland did not win. This is the part of the story that breaks your heart. By March 1940, the Finnish army was exhausted. Ammunition was running out. The Mannerheim Line, Finland's main defensive barrier, had been breached. There were no more reinforcements coming. On March 12, 1940, Finland signed the Moscow Peace Treaty. They gave up 11% of their territory. Over 400,000 Finnish civilians were forced to abandon their homes and relocate. An entire region, Karelia, was handed to the Soviet Union forever. Finland had fought harder than anyone thought possible. They had humiliated the largest military force on Earth. They had made Stalin's army look weak, disorganized, and incompetent. So incompetent that Adolf Hitler watched the Winter War and convinced himself that the Soviet Union was too weak to resist a German invasion. A belief that would eventually cost Germany the entire war. Finland's resistance changed the course of World War II, and most people have never even heard of it. But here is what stays with you long after you've learned this story. Those 300,000 Finnish men who went into the snow, farmers, teachers, factory workers, they didn't fight because they thought they could win. They fought because the alternative was to stop being Finland at all. The 3 Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, did not resist. They were absorbed into the Soviet Union. Over 1 million Baltic citizens disappeared into Stalin's labor camps, where most were shot or worked to death. Finland resisted, and Finland survived. Today, as the world watches new conflicts unfold across Europe, the story of Finland's Winter War feels less like history and more like a warning, a reminder that sovereignty is not given. It is defended, sometimes at a terrible cost. Some nations choose to surrender. Finland chose the snow. This has been The Curious Past. See you in the next mystery.